Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the June 18th, 2020 Town of Riverhead Planning Board meeting. I believe we're trying to get George, member Nenaro, connected here. So the first item on our agenda today is a discussion item for 1535 Route 58. It's to construct a car wash. And Jefferson, you're gonna call the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Marty, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Marty, it's Jeff Murphy. How are you?
Very good.
Okay, we're going to start to review my staff report. I believe you have a copy of it.
Yes, I do.
Okay. This is an application known as 1535 Route LLC. It's a site plan application for a car wash. Despite its name, it is not located at 1535 Route 58. It is located at 1418 Pulaski Street, Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-101-2-12.6. I don't know if you remember this, but a year or so ago, you saw this application because it was originally proposed as a car wash, an upper floor office, a restaurant, and retail space, totaling over 7,000 square feet of development. The Planning Board and Town Board expressed its concern about the amount of development being proposed. The applicant chose to get rid of the retail space and the restaurant and the upper office and proposed a single building totaling 5,624 square feet, and later in the review process, reduced it even further to what you're seeing today.
Got you now.
Sorry. All right, thanks, George.
And the building now is a single car wash use only at 3,809 square feet. This would be a fully automated car wash with payment kiosks, so the patrons would stay in their vehicles and there's no outdoor services by employees. There will be self-service vacuum station located on the property. The property is Zone Business Center, BC, which requires a special permit use by the Town Board. On June 2nd of this year, the Town Board approved the special permit application, and at the end of this report is attached a copy of the special permit approval by the Town Board. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of Route 58 and Pulaski Street. As you know, that there's an old barn and house there now. The property is 62,622 square feet. It's an irregular triangle-shaped piece of property, so it looks like it actually has 3 frontages. Due to the reduction of the building size, it is now a Type 2 action pursuant to SECRA, and no further environmental review is required. Both the sewer department and the water district have reviewed the application. The property is located outside the sewer district, and the applicant will have to petition to have this property included into the sewer district. By email dated October 8th of 2019, the water district said that they could tap off the water main located on Pulaski Street, and that water is available for this property. After I'm done concluding, Marty, if you could explain the nature of the water uses and the water recycling, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
They are proposing an irrigation well with an RPZ, but this really needs to be shown, as well as the size of the irrigation well for the landscaping purposes. As part of the special permit application, the applicant prepared a traffic impact study dated December 2018 by Dunn Engineering, and it was subsequently updated in February 2019 and again on May 22nd and October 11th of 2019. The conclusion was that there would be no significant impacts to either Pulaski Street or to Route 58. The most significant traffic issue has to do with the proposed cross-access to the car dealership to the east. This was a condition of its site plan approval to provide cross-access to the car wash use. However, at the public hearing for the special permit, an attorney for the car dealership, Martin Finnegan, came to the hearing, and the car dealership is opposing any sort of cross-access to the property. The fire marshal is requesting that emergency cross-access be provided. with bollards and a chain to keep any other vehicles out. There will be sidewalks, constructed along all the frontages. The property owner would, retain ownership. Oh, I'm sorry, there'll be a dedication to the town, and to the county for their, the sidewalks, but the property owner would be required to maintain them, such as snow removal.
Okay.
There is, a lighting shown on the site plan. They comply in terms of the height, but there is no lighting plan. We need to see the ISO lines, Marty, and that,
Yes.
and then, that the light bulbs will not exceed 3,000 degree Kelvin. Landscaping, there are two issues really with the landscaping. One is to the property to the east with the car dealership, there is a significant grade change. Marty, I'm gonna have you, talk to that. There are, some large trees in that area, and there's also, landscaping right on the property line by the car dealership. The applicant is proposing a retaining wall, and so Marty, I'm gonna have you explain that in a moment. The other issue is that there's a design guideline that if you have 21 more parking spaces, you should have one, street tree per 10 parking spaces. In my staff report, I recommend that they put landscape islands to the parking stalls to the west along Pulaski Street, but this is where the self-service vacuums are located, so it really doesn't make sense to put them there. My recommendation, and I spoke about this with Marty, to the west of the building immediately, there's a large triangular sod lawn area that's just sod, and my recommendation is that they provide some street trees in there, shade trees rather, and some base landscaping, to help screen, that large, impervious area between Pulaski Street and the building. Regarding the dumpster landscaping, they're proposing 3 6-foot arborvitae. I think the arborvitae should be a little bit bigger than that. It's a 6-foot tall fence. When you look at a 6-foot tall plant of that size, that's the very tip of it, so you've got like a foot or two of just stem. So to provide more immediate coverage, I'm recommending that the arborvitae be 10 feet tall. The application needs to be reviewed by the ARB, due to the pandemic. They have not been meeting. They are just about to resume, meeting again, so, Marty will need to, meet with them to look at the proposed, architectural rendering. Engineering department has reviewed it. All their comments have to do with, engineering, issues. The biggest one is that it will require a SWIP because the property is more than an acre in size. The fire marshal, again, they want the emergency access to the property to the east with bollards and a chain. There are wetlands to the south and west of the property, which require CAC and DEC approval. The CAC has already approved it by a letter dated February 20th, 2019. DEC did review it, and they did provide a response saying that industrial speed use permit is required for the car wash and for sanitary, and they're not within the wild scenic recreation area, so that's a good thing for the applicant. By letter dated December 20th, 2018, Suffolk County Planning Commission determined this to be a matter of local determination. Suffolk County DPW has reviewed it, and their main comment was that they need a permit from their department. The applicant did submit a title report as part of the special permit, but it's outdated and it needs to be updated per the comments by the town attorney's office. So before the planning board can approve the application, we need an updated title report. Staff recommends the application is ready for a public hearing, and we have a resolution as part of your packet today to do so.
Is there an attendant on duty? Because I see it's, self.
Marty, can you explain to the board how the car wash functions and how many employees will be on the site?
Yeah, the car wash, as stated, is fully automated with kiosks. They do have somebody on site to monitor things in case, somebody would have trouble with,
Yeah, that was my concern.
That would be the extent of the, their involvement. They're basically somebody that maintain it and also maintain equipment within the car wash itself.
Yeah,
so it's automated equipment. They do have to, keep their soaps and things that they use and that the machinery uses topped off.
Right.
For the vehicles to go through the car wash, and if there were any type of a glitch or a whatever as the car wash were operating, they would be there to react to that.
Okay. Also, is there a water recycling program? How much water are they going to recycle, if any?
I think there was a note.
Jeff?
Marty, do you hear us?
I don't have a copy of it.
Yeah, it's very hard with the
Okay, Marty, the question is, can you explain the water recycling?
Yeah, the water recycling, well, a couple of things. One is when we started the project, we did reach out to Mike Reichel, and we did discuss the connection, which he said would not be an issue in terms of the sewer district as far as connections, but he did indicate we had to extend the sewer district to include the property. I think the property was left out of the sewer district at the owner's request, because it was a residential property and they didn't want to tie into the commercial sewer district at that time. The sewer district did reach out to H2M and they did provide an initial proposal to handle the extension of the sewer district and the requirements for the connection. As far as the car wash itself, that's a little bit out of my expertise in terms of the engineering. The car wash itself is engineered by groups that produce these car washes all around the country, and they will be doing the full engineering on the recycling. But I do understand that the recycling of the water is at a level of 80%, and we will be required to obtain any and all permits from Suffolk County Health Department, both for sanitary, which will be a separate outfall, as well as any outfall from the residual gray water from the car wash. And I believe that has to go to Farmingville to hazardous materials section for their approval prior to Board of Health approval for the connection to the sewer district.
There is some data on the plans about water use.
So will those engineers who designed the car wash be able to join the public hearing?
I can find out. I can get that information from my client.
Well, Jeff, when I was looking at the plans, I didn't see anything that gave me what the existing site looks like an existing plan.
If you take a look on, page 3 of the staff report,
I'm talking
there is an
about-
aerial photograph.
I'm not talking about a site plan, an actual drawing, so you can see where everything's located.
So, of the existing buildings?
Yeah, existing buildings.
Marty, did you hear the request?
Septic system.
No, what was the response on that?
Joe Bear, planning board member, was asking if if you could prepare a plan showing where the existing buildings, the existing house and barn are located?
Oh, sure. I could do that even as an overlay, also a separate drawing with an overlay.
Okay.
And shade them in on the street plan.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So-
Second thing I noticed, looking at the plan, SP11 and the second plan, you have a loading area in two different spots. It looks like it's the same loading area, but it's in two different locations.
Marty, did you hear the question?
Yes. Was it about the truck loading area?
Yeah, the two plans show them in two separate locations. One's to the southeast of the building and one's to the west.
Okay, let me take a look here. Yeah, you know what, I apologize, that did not get picked up on the XREF for the plan S12. That is, we did move that to the other side because we felt there was a comment from the planning staff of having that loading area directly adjacent to where the cars were egressing the automated wash. So we will make sure that that is corrected and updated and resubmitted to the town with as part of the updated plans prior to the public hearing.
So
But
Marty,
it is
you're proposing the
updated.
plan to have as shown in SP 1.1, correct?
That is correct. And it worked out really well because the deliveries can pull in off of Pulaski extension. They can basically back right in, unload, and then pull out onto the original Pulaski Street location. So it worked out very well, and it no longer would interfere with the being directly adjacent to the actual egress of the car wash.
What exactly it gets loaded into this facility?
Basically, what that would be boxes that have containers of the different agents that they use as part of the car washing process.
So it's just detergents and waxes and that sort of thing?
Exactly. They're basically, I believe they're mostly like concentrates, so they're in smaller containers, and, you know, they load them into the machine.
Okay,
for,
thank you.
You know, the actual car washing process.
So the recycling, component of the car wash, is there a holding tank for that water to be recycled and repumped? And a filtration system?
Yeah, that is part of the actual equipment that is included within the car wash facility itself. The actual car wash equipment has recycling, and all of those systems are integral to the car wash system.
And is there an oil water separator as well?
What, I'm sorry?
Oil separator.
Yes, I believe there is. I believe there's an oil separator, and regardless, when I spoke with Mike Reichel, I think he had indicated he's going to want one on the line out of the gray water when it does come out. He would like us to put in an oil separator regardless, and then go into a manhole that then connects with the other sanitary coming out of the building before it goes to the sewer.
Marty, do you have a plan of that yet?
We had that on the original plan, but without having the information from the car wash people, we do not have it yet, but we do have the manhole show
Okay.
on the one. So out of the car wash in that driveway area, there will be another outfall. I'm presuming it will be another outfall tied into into that manhole. Again, all that will be approved by Suffolk County Health Department, Riverhead Sewer District, et cetera.
Marty, do you think you could get those plans to us before the public hearing?
I will check that with the my client to
Okay,
get the information from the engineers. Absolutely.
okay.
So back to the recycling system, is the holding tank a double wall containment tank, and does it have leak sensors in it?
I do not have any information on that I can share with you at this time.
Okay,
Whatever it is, it will be approved by the appropriate agencies. So that is covered by the hazardous materials
Still wanna
section,
see it.
Suffolk County, as well as the Suffolk County Health Department. That's totally their call. Whatever their requirements are in order for us to get a permit, we will obviously have to get. But it'll meet all of the requirements that.
right, but we still have to see it and approve it.
Yeah, Marty, what
Yes.
the request by the planning board is they before they approve the site plan application, they wanna see these plans.
Okay. I mean, I would hate to delay it since we've had this delay already with the, that won't delay the public hearing though, will it?
No, but
Okay.
I think we've moved this application along far enough, Marty, that
Yeah.
we should be able to get those plans. We're at that stage where you can get that engineer to get working on it and submit them to the planning board and to the public to review.
Well, however, typically that's a requirement of the building permit, not a requirement of the site plan approval.
But I think
And
you're
I'd
hearing from the,
rather remain-
I think you're hearing from the
I'd
planning
rather-
board, they wanna see those plans before that. They don't have to be
Okay.
construction drawings, but I think you can do a step to show us where these.
I personally do not see the need for that. That's a condition of the building permit.
We wanna see them.
It's the jurisdiction of the county, and it needs to be authorized, received by the building official prior to issuing a building permit. It's not a requirement of a site plan approval, so I'd rather not do it at this time.
Okay, but we wanna see them, so before we,
Well, it's not really your jurisdiction. That's my point. I know you'd like to see it, but it's really
Okay.
nothing that
You
runs
get
the
approval.
jurisdiction of the planning board.
all right, so the
It's really
ball,
the jurisdiction of the county.
Marty, the ball will be in your court whether we move it forward or not. We'll have the public hearing, but until we put it up for a vote, we wanna see it.
Okay, that's fine. I just would like to note that I object to that request. We'll provide it, but I object to requesting it. I don't think it's under your jurisdiction.
Does it help us to get the town board information from their special permit here?
Yeah, the special permit, approval is attached to the back of the staff report.
Okay.
Yeah,
One more question, does it require any variances?
no,
No, okay,
no, it's been designed so it does not need any.
thank you.
So, and
Mar-
as far as the cross-access goes, I
Yeah.
see that the town board put a lot of conditions on this, but they left the cross-access approval up to the planning board. So what happens if we require a cross-access and the neighbor won't provide it?
they've already provided as part of their site plan approval from a few years ago.
So then why did you read before that they were not open to it?
They
I
can,
can elaborate on that, Jeff, I do remember, but if you want me to jump in on that?
just by background, every week, a representative from, Tommy Latham and Shea would come to the planning board, planning department, excuse me, to review the files. They're very mindful of what's going on with this application. And Martin Finnegan came to the public hearing and voiced opposition to any cross-access through their property. So, I don't know if there's background, Marty, but,
I don't even know if the elevations are gonna be the same, are they?
There is
Yeah.
Obviously a cross-access.
it's flat up there.
That is part of the approval for the Volkswagen site. So that's already a condition of their previous approval.
Yep.
So, it's something that exists. Their concern was that area, there are car sales, and a lot of times there are families there and people looking at cars and walking around that parking lot. And they did not feel that a cross-access was appropriate there because of safety reasons. And there's really no need for anybody on our end to egress there. It's sort of we all understand what cross-accesses are and their benefits. I just do not believe that anybody sees the benefit for the cross-access between these two properties at that location, other than for emergency access. So the fire marshal had indicated that he would accept a cross-access that has a barrier where the fire department could use it if accepted by the planning board. It's just one of those sites because you have a car wash with a lot of cars just pulling out, and pulling around, and then you have a car dealership that really has static display of cars, and it just seems a little bit of a concern in terms of safety. We don't object to it not being there. In other words, could it be more convenient for my client to have it there so people could, after they're done vacuuming, pull out and go all the way down and hit a light somewhere? Yeah, but they also have the egress and they can go right to the light on Pulaski and 58. So we don't really have any particular advantage on our end, and we see that we see it being there. So we don't object to it being restricted.
Jeff, you said you would be explaining retaining walls, or have Marty do that?
Yeah, Marty, if you could explain the grade change from your property to the property to the east and the
Sure.
retaining wall?
Sure, yeah, when the Volkswagen property was developed, both that property and this property had a grade where it rose up from Pulaski and then back down to 58. The Volkswagen site was regraded in a manner that works in terms of access from both 58 as well as the location on Pulaski Street. Just in terms of site development, the grade similar to Volkswagen actually is the proper grade along that property. So what they did is when they developed their property, they graded the site and they put a retaining wall up to maintain the grade on our property. When we first looked at this, one of the thoughts we had was approaching them to see if there would be a chance to remove the landscape retaining wall and just lower the whole thing, which they do not want to do because there are trees and landscaping, and it is a sort of a buffer. You'll have a car wash which has much more activity right along the property line as opposed to people viewing the cars there. So what we did is we then designed a mirror image of theirs where we had a retaining wall on our property. So it creates like a landscape sort of peninsula, like a raised landscape buffer area between the two parcels. Originally, our retaining wall was much closer to the property line, similar to the setback that they have. However, in an effort to maintain that one large tree and to just have a little bit more of a buffer, we actually moved our entire building and development away from that easterly property line in order to have an area that's substantial. It could be landscaped with evergreens and whatnot and create a real true buffer visually. We just don't want the whole corridor of 58 to just be building after building. So it does create a very nice buffer with greenery. So basically it's essentially like a raised, very big planter, for lack of a better term, with the retaining wall all the way around. At the front, where the cross access is, the retaining wall is basically zero. And it basically starts and it steps up to where the buildings are, goes level, and then steps back down where they're both basically level at the back of the building. So, which is basically matching, our grades match the Volkswagen grades both front and back. And generally, we have a similar grade on site between the front and the back. And that raised area is part of the original, will be part of the original topography of those combined parcels, which we're going to use to the advantage of a visual buffer.
Marty, there are several very large trees on the property. You call them out on the plans, but you don't say that you're going to preserve them. I think the intention was, by showing them, you intend to preserve those trees. You just need to call
That is
them out,
correct.
call them out as such.
So that's fine. Yeah, we have 4 on Pulaski. We have 1 down by 58, and we have the big tree between the 2 properties.
Right. So you're just gonna give us a tree protection detail too, you know, the fence at the drip line, that sort of thing.
Right, okay.
Jefferson, could you, I didn't get, some of us didn't get our mail package for those
I
plans.
can give you this one.
Well, if you could just hold it up for me from where you are and show me how the intended traffic flow in and out of there is?
Sure. Okay. There are 2 exits and entrances on the property. One is off to the western side of Pulaski Street with a 24-foot wide accessway into the site. The other access is to the eastern side of the property and south of it on Pulaski Street, which is also 24-foot, actually 25-foot wide, in and out of, onto Pulaski Street into the site. It's a one-way traffic circulation to the east along the eastern property line. This is where the kiosks are for payment. You then circle back around and then into the building as an automated car wash facility. And then you have a choice to exit the building either south on Pulaski Street, or if you want to vacuum your car, you make a right-hand turn out of it. The vacuum pumps are located along the western parking lot, and again, that's self-service. If you get to the where the payment area is and you decide that you don't want a car wash, you can circle back around and not go through the car wash and exit out of the site. So it's a
Everything is out of that one on Pulaski Street.
that's it. And you can either exit the property from south of Pulaski Street, or you can make a right-hand turn out and come out to the western side. by the-
On that Pulaski extension?
Yes, and that way it gets you back out to the traffic light to 58.
Mm. Can you go in on that Pulaski extension?
Yes.
Extension too?
Yes, yes. So you can come, if you're coming from County Road 58, you come down Pulaski Street, and you can enter across the street from where the town detention.
Yeah, I don't know if you're
facility
gonna be able to make a left in there off of 58.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
cannot-
cars back up there.
is. Yeah, so you basically, you come either eastbound or westbound, and then you have your, pretty substantial queue. It's approximately, let's see, you got, Marty's got. No, it's just taking a look at this whole measure.
Yeah, but just, I mean, just by traveling that area,
Yeah.
just about every light change there, the cars are backed up almost to
Oh,
Pulaski
yeah,
Street.
coming northbound, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're either going westbound or going
Yep.
straight in and across, yeah. I make that, we know that route all the
So
time.
assuming it's a busy day
Right.
and people are pulling in there, how many cars can be stacked online without impacting the flow in and out?
Off of Pulaski Street or here?
Well, either way, really. I mean, you're not gonna be able to block off Pulaski Street extension, but off of Pulaski Street, how many cars could fit in there?
24
In line,
in line.
24?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 3 lines, 8 cars per line.
And that does include the queue line along the access aisle.
Okay. And this study, the traffic study that was updated a couple times.
Right.
A few times, indicated that there would be no significant traffic impacts.
That is correct.
Boy, I'd like to know how they came to that conclusion.
Okay, the traffic study is about a half-inch thick, so I don't know if you want me to get a, Marty, can you get a scanned copy of the, or PDF of the traffic study?
Sure.
And then also I think there are 3 separate amendments to it also.
Correct.
All right, if you can
Okay.
get us a PDF of all that, that way I can distribute it to the board.
Sure, okay.
Okay, George, do you have anything?
No, I'm just in line with you guys. I don't know how 27 cars can fit in there, or 24 cars, whatever was said, but, I don't have my packet as well, so we'll deal with it in the public hearing.
Okay.
Question? The question, actually, is for Dick Ehlers. And, they're required to put a well in for
Irrigation.
irrigation. Is that still in practice as far as the water district is concerned, or have things let up?
No, that's still our practice.
Yeah, still practice, okay. I thought possibly, they were getting these new, computerized meter, irrigation systems that would, reduce the,
Demand.
especially because our parks are the biggest users.
I think they're following your direction on that, in that regard as well.
Did they get the money from the town board?
I can't answer that. Just, while I have a comment here, the adjoining property has a covenant, I believe, that permits you to require a cross-access. You may want to require that same covenant here, which doesn't create the cross-access, just gives you future flexibility if it became a need. So there's kind of, it's a bifurcated question. Do you wanna do the same thing you did everywhere else and have the opportunity to later on require it? Or do you wanna just categorically say at this point, no, we're not going to, require it, at any time? So that's one thing. And the other thing is that the extension of the sewer district will require a public hearing by the town board, Marty, just, keep that on your radar.
Oh, yeah,
And-
correct.
And we need that map and plan from H2M before that can be accomplished. And that map and plan is going to depend on the design of the facility, so it, I just don't think it's unreasonable for this board to ask that occur, because
Okay.
nothing's gonna happen as a practical matter, to get this project approved, because the health department's not gonna allow you to do it until you have an extension of the sewer district. The owners of this property specifically requested at the public hearings for the commercial sewer district that they not be included. So it's, now it's kind of turned the other way and they want to be in, but it's going to take that public hearing at the town board to get them in there. So it would seem that it's all a piece of the same puzzle, and why not just get it done? Anyway.
Marty, you got all that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And
I-
Marty?
Yeah, I did that, the only question I would have is that how we would handle, there's always sort of a cross up with the health department. The health department will not issue us our permits until the town does a secret determination.
Right now, it's a type 2
So-
action.
What's that, Jeff? I'm sorry.
It's a type 2 action. And that's actually in the special permit approval, resolution.
Is it? Okay, good. If
Yeah.
it is, then that's good, then I have that, okay,
Yeah.
great, okay.
Marty, the one thing to consider, there's a draft law being circulated by, the water district about, reducing water demand for landscaping for, subdivisions, for single-family homes and site plan applications. One thing you could take a look at is that lawn area, rather than having it is all sod, is to break that up with some, like redstone landscape area mulch, that sort of thing, to reduce
Right.
the irrigated area.
Yeah, use less water-dependent irrigation, for sure.
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
So getting back to that cross-access, but the fire marshal is requiring, at the very least, a emergency cross-access.
That's
So,
correct.
knowing that, I don't see why we shouldn't fully execute it right now.
And if we put a gate or 2 bollards in a chain, that's gonna keep people out. People are not gonna go crashing through a chain, unless they're in a fire truck and there's a fire or emergency need, so, I know that for the public hearing, that the attorney for the other side will probably be joining us to ask about that question.
Okay.
Anything else? No. All right.
Thank you. Marty,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much, board members, I appreciate it.
Marty, I'll put together a bullet list of things that are needed, and then, we'll have a conversation, before the public hearing.
Okay, thank you all very much for your help, it's appreciated.
All right, take
Bye
care.
now.
Bye.
Okay, item 2, John, I think this one's yours, 817 Pulaski Street, self-storage.
Yes.
Kim Judd.
Hi, Kim, it's John.
Hi, John. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
All right, so I just put this 817 on for discussion to bring the board up to speed. I know there is a concern about posting the environmental assessment form and Part 2 and Part 3 on the town website, which has since last Friday been posted for the public to access. I know there were comments and concerns from a member of the community, James Farley, and I'll let Kim speak to that because her clients did meet with them on site.
Hi, good afternoon. My clients did meet with James Farley, I believe on Wednesday on site. I believe I saw an email that he sent out today to planning saying that he did confirm he met with them and that, actually I have the email right here, I can read it to you.
And we did receive an email from Mr. Farley before noontime today. It was emailed to Carissa, and then Carissa, you distribute that to the board, correct?
Yes, it just as I believe that we share the same concern that the proposed structure, particularly its its east and north elevations, be designed with a sensitivity to both Polish Hall and St. Isidore's, and with consideration for Pulaski Street's future development. Thank you for your efforts. My clients have met and discussed this application with Ziggy Walensky over at Polish Hall and with St. Isidore's. They've both said that they support the project. We have some ideas about the elevations. I know that Chairman Carey referenced, and maybe if Chairman Carey, if you don't mind, if I could speak to your question from last week, because it was a little hard to hear, but you had asked a question about A200, the elevation, the north elevation and the south elevation.
Yes.
And so, okay, so I just wanted to give you a second to pull it up if you want to take a look at it, because I don't know if I addressed your question fully, so I just wanted to comment on it. So it's page 8200 of the architectural drawings, and it shows the rear elevation north, and then it says the front elevation south. So I think your question last week was which way will face the railroad tracks, and so where it says front elevation south, where all the doors are, that's the part that will be facing the railroad tracks.
Right, okay.
And then where you see rear elevation north, that's as if you're standing on the Long Island Brewery property looking at the building.
Right, so that'll face the existing building.
Correct. So
Okay.
there's going to be no access to the self-storage units from the rear elevation where it says north. You have to go around to the back of the building where the railroad tracks are to access the doors
I follow. I got
and
it.
the entrances to the building. And we have some ideas that I think my clients are discussing with Polish Hall, which is maybe if you look at the top spears, making them red and white to emulate the awnings on Polish Hall, and you'll see that there are faux windows on the north side, putting the shutters, the Polish Town flower shutters on those sides of the windows. So my client has no issue with doing that, and like he said, he's working with Polish Hall to get the look of the building the way everybody wants it to look.
Okay, good.
Does any member of the board have any further questions?
Is there going to water and sewer?
Yes.
The building separate, a separate line and set for each?
Yeah, water and sewer is provided ready to the property.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
but
it's there.
It's there, but this building, are they gonna be taking an additional service from the water and sewer district, or are they gonna be tying into the existing buildings, and can it handle it?
Okay. Kim, did you hear that question?
I think so. I think Chairman Carey asked that last week. you can see that the different buildings on the property already have their own connections.
Mhm.
The Pulaski and Marcy, but he did last week ask us to show the connection on the plan, so I believe it's going to be coming off of Marcy.
Okay, so, they will be, required to pay the water district key monies, is that correct? Because it's a new
Yes.
service to the property,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's just that neither one is shown on the site plan.
So you want the water district connection and the sewer connection to be shown on the
We
site?
should see it on the site.
They're
Okay.
not on the plan. Do they need ZBA?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
ZBA, yes.
Okay.
And the secret determination resolution is on for
Right.
the board to approve today.
Okay, and we're gonna get a revised site plan, is that right?
Yes.
Anything else? No. George, anything?
No, no question.
Okay,
All right, thank you, Kim.
thanks, Kim.
Thank you, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, item 3, John, this is yours again, Bank of America drive-up, ATM upgrades.
Yep. So the planning department has received and reviewed an administrative site plan application to demolish existing asphalt, concrete, and curbing in the drive-up ATM area and repave the new drive-up area, remove and replace lighting, and install a new ATM service at an existing bank. With regard to secrets, unlisted action, coordinated review being optional, not recommended. The applicant has received a New York State DEC freshwater wetlands permit. The subject parcel is a 1.19 acre parcel of land located on the northeast corner of Old Country Road and Northville Turnpike. The subject parcel is located within the shopping center zoning use district, and zoning in the surrounding and adjacent property is commercial and residential campus and open space conservation. Site is presently approved with a one-story building for baking with associated parking, lighting, drainage, and landscaping. Regarding paving and curbing requirements, they comply with all New York State DOT, and it should be noted that the applicant proposes a 3-inch thick HME base course, which does exceed the minimum standard. There were some issues with some of the lighting. Some of the proposed lighting proposed as 5,000 and 4,000 degree Kelvin. One of the recommendations that I'm making is that before the issuance of a building permit, that they revise the site plans to reflect that they're going to install 3,000 color temperature fixtures. Regarding landscaping, they're proposing to reseed and restore all matching pre-construction conditions, restore with 4-inch topsoils and seed, and match the 3-to-1 slope or allowed in the landscape restoration areas. The contractor will be required to locate all sprinkler heads in the area of disturbance prior to construction and will relocate the sprinkler heads and lines in accordance with the owner's discretion within these areas of disturbance. The contractor will also regrade disturbed landscape areas to meet grade at walkways and top of curb elevations except where a wall is noted on the plans. There is no abrupt changes in grade permitted in disturbed areas. The application was referred to the town engineer, and in a memo dated May 27, 2020, he had no comments or objections to the project. Planning staff recommends the board classify the actions listed, assume lead agency without the need of coordinated review, and issue a negative declaration and grant the proposed action and grant administrative approval with the conditions, the one being with the fixtures be revised to reflect the color temperature by code of 3,000 degree Kelvin, and that the applicant also supply the town with the plan that was stamped NYDEC approval.
Good job, John.
John, do they have an irrigation well on site?
I do not know, but I can look into that for you.
Paving was started months ago, and the lighting is, I don't know, it's there, the new lighting. Definitely the grass and of the shrubberies need replacing.
Yes.
They need help.
started
It's
this
been
project?
going on a while.
They already started the project?
No, they have not,
Haven't started what?
the project.
They're well into this project.
No, they haven't, they're upgrading the ATM service, they haven't started this project yet.
If I could, if you recall, this came before your board very recently, about a year ago, where they did lighting improvements and some other, site improvements to the property. They completed that part of it, or finishing it. This is a totally separate application that was not included as part of that
Okay.
former application.
Thank you.
So why they segment it like this, I don't know, they did.
Okay.
Joe Bear asked the same question.
Yeah, the grass and other things, it needs work.
I can add that as.
Lights look good and the paving looks good. That's about where it's at.
I can add that as an additional condition of approval if
Yeah.
the board feels that that's appropriate, they touch up the landscape
And it's to find out if they have irrigation in there.
and irrigation will.
Yeah.
If they don't,
It doesn't look it. I
John,
didn't look
They need
carefully.
Yeah.
plants need watering.
if they don't, they're gonna have to put one in.
Well, this is administrative, and I'm not sure if they're hooked up to the town or not, and you'll question whether or not they have a well, but
Yeah.
how could we make them put a well in if it's an existing building and they're not upgrading the service and all that? Can we do that for an administrative site plan? I don't know.
It'd be more of a plumbing problem. Once you put the well in, you connect it up to the irrigation system and disconnect to what they have to the irrigation system.
Well, let's get the first question answered.
Because my recollection is the sidewalks are the color of iron,
Iron?
so I'm guessing they have.
They have one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That area is tricky right there, where
Yeah.
they go, so. Okay, I don't have anything else for this.
No.
George, anything?
No.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Purple Beach.
Next up, Purple Beach Realty LLC. Greg, this one's yours. Discussion of a yield map for a major subdivision.
Good afternoon, Realty.
Hi, is this Mr. Israel?
That's me.
Hey, Mr. Israel, you're live from the town boardroom right now. We're here at the planning board meeting. I'm gonna read through my report. I'll let the board respond, and then if they ask any questions, I'll relay them to you.
Great. Welcome.
Alright.
Hi, guys.
Hello. So the planning department has received and reviewed an application submitted by Purple Beach Realty LLC to approve a yield map which identifies the development potential for a major subdivision of a vacant 5-acre parcel of land located within the town of Riverhead. The application proposes the use of transfer of development rights to increase the as-of-right development density of the subject parcel. The subject parcel, identified as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-65-1-28, is a vacant wooded 5-acre parcel of land located at 465 Doctors Path. Parcel is located on the west side of Doctors Path, approximately 1,800 feet north of the intersection of Northville Turnpike and Doctors Path. Subject has approximately 246 feet of frontage on Doctors Path and extends approximately 886 feet deep to the west. Subject parcel is located within the Residence A40 zoning use district. The surrounding area is predominantly residential, with the subject parcel sharing its southern property boundary with a residential subdivision known as Northville Homes. It shares its western property boundary with a major residential subdivision known as Tall Oaks Estates, and the property's northern boundary is shared with a pre-existing residential development, which is not identified in town records as any approved subdivision. Subject property contains gradual slopes throughout, with an elevation of approximately 36 to 37 feet at Doctor's Path, and topography varying throughout the parcel. The low point of the property, which is approximately 23.7 foot elevation, is located at the southwest corner of the parcel, which is adjacent to a Town of Riverhead public park. Subject parcel is located within the Riverhead Water District Extension number 19, with an 8-inch water main running through Doctor's Path and a 6-inch water main running through Oakland Drive North. During the site visit, it was noted by staff that there were some makeshift structures that had been constructed in the woods, likely from neighborhood children used to hang out in the woods. Pursuant to Town Code 301-208B, TDRs, or Transfer of Development Rights, can be utilized to increase lot yield within the RA40 zoning district. However, in no instance shall lot yield exceed one lot per 20,000 square feet after subtracting that area for land required for infrastructure and public improvements. The lots identified on the TDR yield map would comply with the 20,000 square foot lot size. Comments specific to the yield map, I noted the following in the review of the project. The yield map does not identify any areas reserved for drainage, recharge of stormwater, which are required pursuant to Town Code Section 301-285A6. Identifying this area in the yield map phase would ultimately affect the yield of the parcel. I will address those comments in our town consulting engineer's memo. Number two, I just noted that the proposed right-of-way is approximately 44,000 square feet in total, with approximately 23,700 square foot of impervious coverage, not including any sidewalks. It is noted that within the identified lots on the yield map, there's approximately 12,000 square feet of land in excess of what is required by the RA40 dimensional regulations. The yield map that is before you submitted has identified a total of 8 lots, which range in size from 20,062 square feet through 27,109 square feet. Although it is not clearly identified on the map, it is presumed that this map is predicated upon the use of 4 TDRs. And this is something that I just noticed. The initial yield map, it appears to skip a step, so to speak, in terms of the as-of-right development yield of the parcel. I did note that if you eliminate some of the lot lines on that 8-lot yield map, for example, if you eliminate the line between lots 1 and 2, between lots 3 and 4, lots 5 and 6, and lots 7 and 8, the 4 resultant lots would meet the minimum dimensional requirements of the RA40 zoning use district. This is something that if the board finds the yield map amenable, I would just recommend that the applicant prepare one of those as-of-right yield maps so that we can have a base to understand where we got from as-of-right, the application of 4 TDRs to get to the 8-lot,
Yes.
and I will address the...
I had that same comment.
All right. I didn't think it was worth, holding it up at that point. I believe that's something that could be addressed as a condition of approval, if the board agrees. And then the applicant did submit a sketch plan. With regards to the sketch plan, this plan does identify an open space and drainage easement area of an unidentified size along the northern property of the subject property. It is noted that this drainage area appears to be located at the high point of the property, with the elevations in this area ranging from 31.9 feet through 36.9 feet. It is noted that the proposed drainage and open space area abuts 3 residential parcels to the north. The creation of the open space and drainage area would require clearing and regrading of this area, which may eliminate any effective vegetative buffers that would be created by an open space area. I note that the low point of the property is in the southwest corner with an approximate elevation of 23.7 feet. This location of the property would appear to be more appropriate to locate any drainage areas, as the southwest corner abuts a town park, so the location of the drainage area would be less offensive to any residential areas, as if it was located to the north, it abuts 3 residential lots. I do note that the sketch plan before you has added a 9th lot. If the board finds the yield maps acceptable, the applicant would be required to add this 9th lot in order to comply with the Long Island Workforce Housing Act.
If they don't add the 9, then they don't have to comply, is that right? They stay with 8?
Well, no, so in order to, if they reduce their yield, like if the board finds a 4-lot as-of-right map is acceptable, they're applying 4 TDRs, that's maximizing the development density. If they imported 4 TDRs and then they would have to eliminate 1 lot, they would pay for the TDRs to get to 8. If they voluntarily remove 1 lot, so in other words come in with a 7-lot map, then they would not have to comply with the Long Island Workforce Housing Act.
Oh, so the 8 is the number?
The 8, based on the 4 as of right, apply the 4 TDRs, we get to 8. If that's the acceptable yield, the 9th lot would have to be added. That would be the development density bonus that's afforded by the Long Island Workforce Housing Act.
So the existing cluster sketch that they're showing with 9 is actually adding that in.
Correct, yes. The maps, like I said, they do sort of kind of get to the finish line a little bit early, but I'll go over some of Mr. Gaudiello's comments, and it does seem to be appropriate. So the board agrees with all the staff comments and engineering comments. The lot ultimately would arrive at 9. That would be inclusive of 4 TDRs, and it would add the 1 lot for the Long Island Workforce Housing Act.
Otherwise, it could go with 7 and only need 3 TDRs.
Correct, correct.
The 4 TDR to get to 7.
The 7, they still need 4?
Well, because they gotta lose a lot. They can't just not buy a lot, that's not losing a lot. They're not, you take what they're entitled to and you reduce it by 1 if they don't follow the act. You take what they're entitled to and you add 1 if they do follow the act.
You're entitled to 4.
And then they add 4 more, now they're up to 8. If they follow the act, they can add the affordable housing extra lot for the 9. If they, this is the same situation we had by the railroad tracks and
I'm just talking about 7 though. How many TDRs would they need for 7?
4.
3? Still 4?
They would still need 4.
Oh.
So they would still need to do that, and then if they want to reduce it, they would do 7. That's not what they're proposing. They would, I believe it is their intention to go through, maximize it with the 8, get the additional lot for the Long Island Workforce Housing Act, and that 9th lot, one of those lots in that subdivision would have to be preserved as a affordable housing, which is defined in the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. In terms of clustering the map, the sketch map that's before you has an effect with the inclusion of the drainage area and the 9th lot. It has effectively clustered the map down. On that map, the lots range in size from 14,425 square feet through 20,350 square feet. It is noted that the proposed lot sizes are significantly larger than the neighboring lots to the south, which range in size from approximately 0.17 acres through 0.25 acres. The proposed yield and sketch maps do not identify any areas to be dedicated for parks and recreation. Town code states that any parcel of land required for recreational purposes shall have an area of at least 1 acre. If the board were to require that, that would effectively reduce the development of this parcel by 20%. If the board does not require the recreational area to be constructed on site, the applicant would be required to pay the recreational fees pursuant to Town Code 301-289B14A. This is a recreational fee of $3,000 per lot. The total fee for the proposed subdivision would be $24,000 based on the creation of 8 new buildable lots. Historically, the planning board has not included the existing lot as one of the, in its calculation of rec fees. The reason being the lot currently exists. As of right, this lot could be developed with a single family residence and they would not have to pay that additional fee. So the board would be charging the fees for newly created lots. I did receive comments from our town's consulting engineer. Won't read them verbatim. He did summarize the site description and the yield map. In the yield map portion, Mr. Gaudiello did say, at this time, no objection is taken from an engineering standpoint to the proposed yield of 8 lots under the workforce housing option. I do note that the map does include a workforce housing option that should be revised to include the TDR language, just so that we're clear how we're establishing the yield. Mr. Gaudiello did comment on the sketch plan, and he summarized it. He stated that in evaluating the subdivision design, we note that there is a natural low in the southwest corner of the property within the limits of proposed lot number 8. Furthermore, the location of the roadway and drainage facilities are not consistent with the natural grade of the site. In closing, Mr. Gaudiello stated that no objection is taken to a yield of 8 lots under the workforce housing option. However, we recommend that an alternate sketch plan design be provided that addresses the drainage design issues while following the existing natural grade of the property as referenced above.
How much open space? Did he give you a number anywhere of open space that's now been created?
No, the drainage and open space area on the north side of the property, the size is not clearly, it's not defined on the
When you
map.
go to, going to cluster, is there any minimum amount of land that has to be dedicated to
Well, so
allow you to go to clustering?
Clustering is actually not required within the RA 40 zoning use district. There's nothing that mandates it. Clustering is required in the RA 80, RB 80, and APZ. So there's no mechanism in the code that requires it. That's not to say that the planning board can't employ the tactic of clustering in order to preserve open space. But again, the questions of calling it an open space easement when you're gonna need significant drainage and grading improvements in that area, again, I'm not sure that it would effectively really be open space as opposed to just.
That's sort of what I'm getting at. I mean, there really isn't any open space.
Correct.
So you don't necessarily agree with the layout of using the drainage easement area as an and labeling it as an open space area?
No, and again, I just wouldn't call it open space, because I don't think that accurately reflects what it would be. But again, with my comments and Mr. Gaudiello's, I think the applicant should provide an alternate sketch map which utilizes the low point of the area. I mean, again, the elevations in this open space drainage area are approximately 36.9 to 31.9. It just doesn't seem, I don't understand why you would put the drainage area at the high point of the property as opposed to utilize the natural topography.
So
can I make a comment?
Yes.
So the open space area that you see was created by Howie because if we put the road directly on the property line to the north, it basically would create a situation that the houses to the north would have two front yards. So after a discussion that we had together, I said to him, let's create the roadbed to be wider and let's see if we can give them a buffer zone into their backyards so that the road is not truly in their backyard. So I believe that Howie created that strip. I believe that it is 35 feet from the normal 50 feet of the width of the roadbed, which we always said, hey, we could use it for some swale drainage from the drainage that's coming off of the top of the road and the like, but it also would create that buffer that the road would not be on the property line of the people to the north. We're expecting to deed that with the road. It was never intended to be parkland. It was never intended to be, preserved open space kind of thing. It was just trying to keep the road not against a person's property line to effectuate them from having two front yards. And that was the thought behind it. If the planning board doesn't agree and you want me to move the road to the north so that the 50-foot right-of-way is right up against the other people, we can do that. But that was the thought process behind why we did what we did on that northern side. It did create a place to put some drainage. It did, and the like. And I want to say since Mr. Bergman's discussion of this, Howie has started to play with the drainage to try to make it be what both him and Mr. Gaudiello have suggested, and he's working on that. But the original intent of that open space along the road on the north side was to make it so that the people on the north in the established lots did not land up with two front yards, that they could always enjoy their backyards not being on a road frontage. Because the width of the lot does not, we can't run a road down the center, which, if we had a wider lot, it would be the normal way to do it. So really, to get your right depths and your right proportions to lots, it really had to go to the north or the south side,
I agree with Mr. Israel's comments, just in terms of the configuration of the parcel. You know, there's not really many alternatives that they could do. I suppose if they, you know, I mean, I guess it would come down to the specific grading plan within that open space area. You know, if they were able to provide some sort, you know, maintain some sort of buffer in that area, I suppose it could work, but.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that along that north side, they could put a buffer, and they could put plantings, and that would perhaps separate at least the houses to the north from having two front yards. And then you could move, you still could, if they wanted, you could still move the road over a little bit to the north, and that would make the lots turn out to be a little larger as well. I don't know if you heard this.
So, but Vinnie's comments were, he wanted to see utilization of the lower elevations for drainage to the south, right?
Correct.
And I think he said he was gonna, they're looking at it.
Yes. So I think, you know, I think it's, at this point, both my review as well as Mr. Gaudiello's,
Okay.
I think we were satisfied with the 4 lots, applied for TDRs to get to 8. I think we're all right with the yield. But I think, you know, if Mr. Young is preparing a map and in the midst of working on something, I think it would be probably appropriate to come to the board with, just present that alternative sketch to discuss the merits of it. But at this point, I would recommend approval of at least the yield with the as-of-right, as well as the importation of the TDRs.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
We do need that base yield map, because that's the yield map you're approving. You're not, there is, the TDR map can't be approved without that.
Right, so we need that, then we could approve it.
Right.
And it does exist because originally we were trying to do a little condominium complex on here, and we had some discussions way back with,
So you can supply that map before the board acts on approving the yield.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Israel, it sounds like if you get us that map, like I said, that basically just eliminates the lot lines, that shows the 4 lot as of right. I mean, if you get that to me, you know, within the next week, I could probably prepare a resolution. That sounds acceptable, if you get, produce the 4 lot map.
A proper yield map, because remember the process we went through
Yes.
with the other group that wanted to sell the development rights to the town, they had to get you a simple yield map first, and then the next decision is not the maximum that are allowed to be imported, but how many can be imported on a site that then can be designed properly.
Right.
Which begs the questions of the road and the backyard. And the open space is being preserved off-site, so there is open space being preserved off-site at the TDR sending area. So he is providing open space, and that's why on the 40,000 square foot zoning, the board, when it adopted the TDR statute, didn't feel that you needed additional open space on these small lot subdivisions because you're preserving the farmland at another location.
Right.
Right, so.
So I do, just one question, if you could clarify, the board's, authority is not the right word, but difference between wanting them to pay the key money or for parkland, because that question seems to have come up very recently. So is it within our jurisdiction that we could either say we want parkland or recreation space or key money, and what, if they're not, one or the other? Or they are one or the other?
So the town code provision, the state law says that a planning board may require parkland in approving a subdivision.
The
The state law says the town board,
planning board.
may require, I'll take this off.
That's okay, no,
The state law says that you can require parkland. The monetary alternative is just that, it's a monetary alternative,
which is the key money.
which is
Right.
the $3,000 per lot. Historically, the town board has been reluctant to accept the parks because they become a long-term maintenance headache
Mhm.
if they're not part of an overall scheme. And
Right.
over time, it developed that larger purpose facilities were better for public park purpose than small unpurposed facilities throughout the town.
Right, so I only bring that up in this case, because one of the lots does abut a town park right now. And I don't know if the community would like to see that park extended. But there's an opportunity here to at least look at that.
Maybe send a memo to the recreation department and ask them that question.
Yeah.
We'll send a copy of it to Ray.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're good?
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
Normally, I know how you figured your park and playground fee, but normally the extra lot that's the affordable lot normally are not subject to those fees. You know, that lot's supposed to be created with no onus to the developer. Do you still count that lot that's being created as a requirement of the state, and it is subject to the covenants of affordability, that we're still required to pay that park fee on that lot? Should I only be paying on 7 lots or 8 lots, is the question.
I'd like to go back and reread everything, but my recollection is that our code does not track that provision, and so it is required. I don't believe that the Riverhead Town Code, that there is a town code provision regarding the affordable housing requirements. And so that's something that we're gonna have to discuss as you go through this process.
Okay.
So that I do not believe the application of the state affordable housing code has been codified into the Riverhead scheme of development to answer that question among other questions. What sort of covenants are you gonna be required to put on the property in the way of affordability? How are you gonna determine who purchases the affordable unit? How is the affordable unit gonna be transferred down the chain of title to other affordably appropriate people? You know, that's gotta be addressed.
Okay.
All right, so does the board have any other questions?
No, George, do you have anything?
No. No.
All right, so Mr. Rizzo, I think we got it. We'll need that 4 lot as of right development yield map, and then I think we can move forward on this.
Drainage.
Okay, should be able to get you that tomorrow.
All right, sounds good, Mr. Rizzo.
Thank you, board. Thank everyone.
Thank you.
Someday we'll see each other again, maybe.
One day.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Thank you, take
Good.
care.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Okay, next item, KJ Adventures. Is it Adventures or Ventures?
Application says Adventures.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
LLC Farm Stand.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Kim, how are you? This is Greg Bergman with the Riverhead Planning Department. We've got you in the boardroom right now for the planning board meeting for the discussion of your K&J Farm Adventure application.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, so what I'm gonna read my report. I'll let the board ask any questions, and then you'll be able to respond.
Greg?
Yes, sir.
Just for the record, Kim, last name?
Excellent, thank you.
I'm sorry. Kim, just for the record, can you please state your last name?
Sure, Frank, F-R-A-N-K.
Thank you, Kim. All right. So the planning department has received and reviewed a farm stand application which seeks to establish a farm stand which will be operated out of an existing potato barn on a piece of real property located within the hamlet of Jamesport. The farm stand would be located on a parcel and would be separate from the parcel on which the agricultural production is taking place. The agricultural production takes place on a neighboring parcel. The subject on which the farm stand would be operated, particularly identified as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-68-1-9, is a 1.35 acre parcel of land located at 1146 Main Road, Jamesport, on the northeast corner of the intersection of Main Road and Tut Hills Lane. The property on which the agricultural operations currently take place is a 55.2 acre parcel particularly identified as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-68-1-9, which is located 500 feet to the east of the existing farm stand parcel. That agricultural parcel has had the development rights sold to Suffolk County and is presently enrolled in a New York State Ag and Markets Agricultural Commitment Program. Staff has reviewed the farm stand application as well as the short environmental assessment form. The proposed action is a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA, Part 6.5, C4, relating to agricultural farm management practices. No further environmental review is required on this application. The existing site of the farm parcel currently is served with a approximately 14-foot wide curb cut on Main Road and a 22-foot wide curb cut on Tut Hills Lane near the intersection of Tut Hills Lane and Main Road. And there's also a dirt driveway which is located farther to the north. Images of the existing curb cut on Main Road can be seen in Figure 2, and the existing curb cuts on Tut Hills Lane can be seen in Figures 3 and 4 on my staff report. Property is presently improved with a 2-story structure which has a letter of pre-existing use dated October 6, 1983. The LPEU is for a single-family residence with real estate office in the front, which is Century 21 Real Estate. Site is also improved with a 1,075 square foot concrete block potato barn, which will be converted to the farm stand use, a 500 square foot frame barn, and an 1,800 square foot frame barn, as well as related parking improvements. The proposed farm stand building is a 1,075 square foot concrete block potato barn, which is currently located near the eastern property boundary. The existing structure has become overgrown with weeds and vegetation, which will be cleaned up by the applicant prior to opening the farm stand. It is noted that there are no parking calculations provided on the application. In reviewing town code, it is noted that office use requires 1 parking stall per 2,000 square feet of floor area, while a farm stand would require 1 parking stall per 300 square feet of floor area. Although parking calculations are not provided, I reviewed historical files maintained by the building department, and the real estate office was shown to be 2,500 square feet. Based on these calculations, the existing office use requires a total of 13 stalls, while the proposed farm stand would require 4 stalls for a total of 17 required parking spaces. It is noted that the site currently contains an improved parking area along Main Road, which can accommodate approximately 8 cars. In reviewing those historical building files, there was an old copy of a site plan which was filed on the subject property. I did include that just for reference on page 5 of the staff report. That site plan, when scaled out, it showed the ability to park a total of 33 cars on site, with 23 of those stalls located to the north of the existing residence. It is noted, however, that the current project's parking requirements would be significantly less than that. In conversations with the applicant has stated that the real estate office is in the midst of transitioning to another location. However, this office could be utilized by another tenant at some point in the future. Town Code 301-283.4C states that, and this is for the farm stand code, compliance with the parking schedule shall not require that the parking areas be improved or paved. Simply, the area designated for parking shall meet the size and dimensional requirements for use. I have spoken with the applicant, and she did actually send me some pictures. They did put in some railroad ties in that area to the north, and I believe they were able to identify the location of 6 additional parking stalls in the field, which, when you add to the existing 8 in the front, brings them to 14. As I understand, it seemed like there was also additional space where they could probably provide another 6 in that area. So I would defer that question to the board. You know, again, the parking areas don't need to be improved, they just need to be identified. So if the applicant was able to identify the 6 to the north of the house, would that be amenable to the board, or would they like to see the 12 spaces to the north identified?
So I don't.
Repeat that?
Basically, in conversations with the applicant, it seems as though they will be able to demonstrate the ability that they could park, if needed, they could park probably about 12 cars on the property located to the north of the house. They don't need to improve these areas, but what they did is they just put some railroad ties and they put signs of parking stall 1, 2, 3, 4, so that they can identify them in the field.
It still holds 12?
So the existing parking lot in the front of the house along Main Road has room for approximately 8 stalls. If they were able to provide the 12 unimproved stalls to the north, that would bring the site parking total up to 20 stalls, which would be commensurate with everything, including the office use and the proposed farm stand.
Just a couple questions, Greg.
Okay.
Did we have a site plan adjacent to this property recently? Next door?
Joseph Sciota, I believe there was a dentist's office.
Has that all been completed?
That actually hit some snags. They ran into, I believe, health department approval. I think there was an old oil tank. The details escape me. I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago when I first started, but yes, there was a site plan for a office expansion.
That was actually a couple down. Gregella has the next property.
Okay.
But it was in the general vicinity,
Yeah.
yes.
So if you look at, your figure 4 on page 3, that, I see the house on the corner of Main Road and Cuddles.
Mhm.
Is that the barn that you could barely see right there that they're gonna convert?
No, the one that you can kind of see in the background there.
Yeah, it's not it?
No, I actually, on the report that I gave you, I attached a copy of the survey on the last page.
I didn't print that. I couldn't print that.
But yeah, no, that is not the structure.
Okay.
Yeah, the structure, if you look on figure 2, the
Yeah, I
structure
see
is
that.
located.
Yeah, but where is it
The
set on the
orientation.
property?
So if you look at figure 2, that's an image taken from Main Road, looking north to the subject property.
Yep.
The potato barn is kind of located directly in front of
Straight
that
down that driveway?
right in that shaded
So
area.
they'll be going in and out from the main road?
They would be going in and out they could go in and out from the main road or exit the Tut Hills. If that front parking lot is full, they would be able to park to the north of that house.
Okay. And that existing barn, the picture, figure 5, it looks to be in, bad shape?
The building, I'll let Kim speak to that. Yeah, the building does probably need a little work. They would need to get any necessary building permits
Okay.
to bring it up to building code. But I'll let the applicant speak to, the
Okay.
rehab of the building.
Hi there, good afternoon. With regard to the potato barn, the building that we're using, it is actually, solid as can be in that it is an actual potato barn and, all out of, concrete and stone and so forth. So in our mind, and in our plan, simply what we'll be doing is, setting up display tables and servicing the produce from the potato barn, where we'll just be installing a cooling refrigerator. So we're not planning on doing any improvements, so to speak, other than dramatically cleaning up the site, which is not used. In terms of landscaping and tree trimming and improving the accesses, as Greg mentioned, it needed to be mowed down in the back. All of that has been done, and all of the additional required spaces have been identified, plus one additional space.
So does the public access inside, in this building?
Kim, one of the planning board members asked if the public will have access to the inside of that potato barn farm stand building.
They will not stand inside the potato barn, that's correct. It will be serviced by display tables on the outside.
But people will be working in it.
But people will be working in the barn, correct? In the in the farm stand?
Like as a shed, yes. A storage shed, yes.
And they're gonna put refrigeration in there.
Yeah, so I mean, you would need electrical permits to run electrical to the structure. I mean,
It already has electrical service existing. That's the only thing it does have. It does not have plumbing or anything like that.
I'll have to check, I'll have to talk to one of the senior building inspectors. I'm not sure what level, just because the letters of pre-existing use do not indicate any sort of services to those buildings. So I'll run it by one of the inspectors, but I would think we would need to do some level of inspection to ensure that the electrical connections meet code and would be safe for occupancy of that building.
Okay.
Parking will be important there where they do it, because the traffic has an automatic bust off when you make the turn, from coming, going east around the bend in front of this area. They start flying right away, that's when they take off.
So the electrical, Greg, I mean, if they only have a couple lights in there, I mean, the refrigeration system's gonna take a lot more power than that, so I think the electrical inspector's gonna have to take a look at it. And the only reason I asked about people being in the building or working in there, because, I mean, just by looking at it, you know, one would think that someone would have to certify that people can be inside that structure, whether it's an architect or a PE stamp.
Alright.
I mean, for safety reasons.
Alright.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear, very well.
So the chairman just did note, just based on the picture that was provided in the staff report, he did echo the requirements that an electrical inspector would need to inspect the electrical connections, and certify, just based on the picture, it does look like we would want some sort of certification by either an architect or an engineer that the building would be safe to be occupied.
Okay, is the,
I mean, I don't think, Kim, I don't think that's a significant obstacle. You know, I think it could be achieved pretty quickly.
Okay, we don't have a, architect, for this,
I don't think we need an architect, though. That's my.
you know.
I mean, just looking, I mean, when's the last time the barn was used?
Hang on one sec, Kim. Let me, a couple of the members are just having a
Probably
conversation.
quite a
Oh,
while
sorry.
ago.
Quite a while ago. And I mean, again, I'm just looking at the picture. Why don't we leave it up to the building inspector to make that determination if you don't think it needs it? But just by looking at it, if people are gonna be working in there and they're gonna be putting refrigeration in there, I mean, it looks like it's been empty for a very long time. And just for us to stamp this as approved, I don't think, you know, we'd be doing our due diligence properly because, again, picture doesn't tell the whole story, but someone that has more experience in making those determinations need to do it than this board.
All right, so would the board be okay if this was left up to the discretion of the building inspector?
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I would.
That's fine.
All right, Kim, it sounds like we're gonna be able to handle this, internally with our town building department.
Oh, wonderful.
All right, so,
But they may understand, they may require that he, you know, he may
Yeah.
not be comfortable saying, hey, this looks fine, go ahead. He may want somebody to sign off on it.
all right, so Kim, what we'll do is we'll handle it, we'll make it a requirement that needs to be inspected by a town building inspector. But just keep in mind now, you know, when he goes through and does an inspection, he'll look at, you know, the construction of it. If he's not comfortable certifying it, there may be an addition, you know, there may be some certification needed, which I can speak with you about the details of that. So it sounds like that's the way the board would be leaning. Right now, we'll ask for an inspection from a town building inspector, to their satisfaction.
Okay, that sounds great. Is that something that we would be able to, have them visit relatively soon?
Yeah, I'll have to speak to my boss. I'll have to see what the application would look like to the building department, and I'll get you,
Okay.
I'll get you that information. Before
Okay.
we wrap up, I just wanna run through the last item in the report. This application pursuant to town code was referred to the Town of Riverhead Agricultural Advisory Committee. The Ag Advisory Committee reviewed its application on June 8th, and they recommended approval of the farm stand, but they did raise concerns that if the K&J Adventures moved their farm stand to the agricultural parcel, that the Ag Advisory did not want the farm stand to be used by another grower without additional review by the Ag Advisory Committee. So in wrapping up, staff recommends that the planning board grant approval with the following conditions. That the farm stand shall not be used by another operator other than K&J Adventures without further review and approval from the Town of Riverhead Ag Advisory Committee. That the applicant be required to identify a minimum of 5 parking stalls in the northern portion of the property. I will change that. The applicant has identified 6. Would the board like to just see them identify 12, just to be safe and make sure all the uses are parked? It's really just a couple of extra railroad ties and signs.
If they can, yeah.
If,
All right.
if possible.
All right. The northern dirt driveway must be mowed, cleaned, and maintained in an orderly fashion. And I will include the comment from here that it will require an inspection from a town building inspector. Require an inspection and sign off from a town building inspector.
Greg?
Yes, sir.
Did you get this, site plan from, Taft?
That was what was submitted with the application.
Yeah, well, it seems to show that, Main Road ends and becomes Tuttle's Lane, which really isn't factual. I think it's gotta amend that.
I mean, that was a survey.
Yeah.
The survey identifies the property boundaries.
Alright. It gives the impression that Main Road stops and goes into Tuttle's Lane, that's why. I understand. Okay.
That's all I've got. Does the board have any other questions?
George, anything?
No, you covered my objections. It doesn't look like it's habitable to me, but, let somebody sign off on it.
Okay. That's it, thank you.
All right, Kim, we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, that was the last discussion item. We're up to public hearings. There are none scheduled for today. Public comments on resolutions. Did we receive any comments, Carissa? No?
No comments other than the one from Jim Farley.
Right, and we already noted Mr. Farley's comments on that application for Pulaski Street. Okay, so resolutions.
Move resolution number 34 for 817 Pulaski Street Realty Company LLC. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution 34 for 817 Pulaski Street for declaring an unlisted action. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll move resolution number 37, granting an extension of approval for the minor subdivision of Holly Estates.
Second the motion?
Motion made and seconded to approve an extension for Holly Estates, resolution 37. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 38, we're up to. Schedule a public hearing for preliminary site plan application from 1535 Route 58 LLC. We need to go into the rest of it, or?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, motion made and seconded by George to approve resolution 38, schedule a public hearing for 1535 Route 58 LLC. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Resolution is approved.
I'll move resolution number 39, classifying as secret action and assume lead agency status for the Bank of America, and also approve the site plan.
Second the motion?
Comment, are we approving this site plan?
Administrative,
Administrative.
based on our comments.
Okay.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 39, administrative site plan for Bank America Drive Up, ATM. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is approved.
Move resolution number 40 for RGR Ventures LLC for an extension of time. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution 40 RGR Ventures for an extension of time. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is approved. Again, no other comments, Carissa, correct?
No, sir.
Minutes of June 4th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of June 4th. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next meeting is Thursday, July 2nd at 7 p.m. And I do believe we have a public hearing scheduled, and we're gonna do that via Zoom meeting.
Really?
Yep. Motion to adjourn. Any other comments from the board, or questions, or statements? Okay,
Nope.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.
Aye.
George,
Thank you.
you can go back to.